folks, welcome back to 40 Years of Great Games, where I go back and take a look at the different years and the best games that came out of them for the past 40 years. Today we're at 1996. Now I already mentioned that a renaissance of sorts had taken place, and between 93 and 95 we saw Magic the Gathering and Settlers of Catan kind of take the world by storm. Magic the Gathering had a pile of other collectible card games that started copying it or copying the idea and utilizing it. Settlers of Catan showed the world in general that these Euro games could be done with such great finesse and be so much fun. Now, there wasn't anything spectacular about the games in 1996, but we started seeing maybe some building blocks for following years. So these are my personal 10 favorite games. Number 10 is Entdecker. Now, Entdecker is a game of exploration where you were moving your ships around and discovering islands and building them. It's not a game that I think is fantastically fun, and is a game that I haven't really gone back to, well, for like 10 years probably. But it did have some interesting ideas, and the idea of going and exploring and finding new tiles was something that I think we'll see come to more fruition in later years. Entdecker. Number 9 is one that I'm sure a lot of people might have picked for the number 1, and that's Hannibal, Rome vs. Carthage. This is a war game, and Hannibal, Rome vs. Carthage was one of the popular war games that brought in this card-driven system where you were using cards for combat, and it wasn't all these charts and everything. The game itself, compared to many war games, was fairly simplistic, but this game itself, which is Hannibal fighting against Rome, proved to be so popular that it's been reprinted and still sees a lot of rotation amongst many gamers many years later. Number 8 is the very clever pipe game. Around this time frame, James Ernest started a small company called Cheap Ass Games, where he basically said you don't need all the components for games. So he made very small, simple games, many times printed on black and white cards. This was way before Kickstarter showed up, but many of these games were ingenious, and Very Clever Pipe Game was one of those. A two-player game where you tried to connect pipes and make your pipe structure, the white pipes versus the black pipes, your pipe structure better. Party games. So number 7 is Compatibility. Compatibility is a great party game in which each person has a partner. You have a deck of cards, the exact same deck, and the cards are anything from maybe a word, a picture of a crowd, a picture of a clown, and you and your partner are working together. They'll show up, maybe we'll say war is the topic, and I need to pick 5 cards from my deck. My partner will pick 5 cards, and we're hoping that our cards match each other. This one's pretty easily found in thrift stores these days, but a great game. 25 words or less. This is a party game in which you had clues and you would basically bid how many words you think you could get your teammates to guess that clue in. So I might look at the clue and go, I can do that in 17 words. Or a series of clues anyway. I can do this in 13 words. And you would bid down and then see if you were correct or not. A few problems with the game, but the concept was really brilliant. Number 5 is Serenissima. Now, Serenissima has been reprinted in the past 5 years, but this original version was like, wow, spectacular. You got to remember, in 1996, we were not seeing the beautiful, amazing components that we see in games today. So Serenissima, which had all these little sticker flags, you had to sticker like dozens and dozens of these little ships, but you had them there with the little things in, and the idea, this kind of brought the idea that you can go around and trade goods and fight somebody else in combat. So this was a really cool looking game and was a lot of fun. Number 4, also from James Ernest, is Kill Dr. Lucky, which just had its 20th 20th anniversary edition just was published. Kill Dr. Lucky is the classic response to Clue. And Kill Dr. Lucky is like the prequel to Clue, and where you're trying to kill this guy, but you can't kill him when anyone else is watching. So Dr. Lucky is just walking around the mansion, and oh, no one else can see me. Here's my chance. And you're trying to be in a room alone with him, and then everyone else will play cards on you to stop to fumble your attempt. Like you're shooting at him or whatever, and that's when he bends down to pick up a penny. They came out with another game, Save Dr. Lucky, a few years later, but that one was never as popular. Number 3 was a somewhat popular follow-up to Magic the Gathering, which many years later exploded in a new version. That's Netrunner. Now, Netrunner, that whole cyberpunk theme, was not nearly as popular in '96 as it was now, and the game didn't have really great artwork. But this was certainly a game that was trying to be a collectible card game, but one that was completely different than Magic the Gathering. And so many other games copied Magic the Gathering, getting resources and attacking your opponent. Netrunner was an asymmetrical game where both sides, the runner and the corporation, did very different things. Number 2 is the Catan card game. Now, the whole make a card game of a board game really wasn't in effect. In fact, this may be the first one I can think of. Maybe the Monopoly card game was out earlier than this, but this took the Settlers of Catan, which was extremely popular in '96, right? Everyone all over the world was playing Catan everywhere, so the card game, and it's a 2-player game, and it worked really well. It used cards in unique ways and still is selling to this day. And then my favorite game from 1996 is BattleTech, the collectible card game. Now, there's no question that for me, and for those of you watching, this is a personal pick on my part. Objectively, the other games might be better, but I really love the BattleTech collectible card game. It was very similar to Magic in many ways, where you were putting mechs in front of you and attacking, but it added a bunch of things I liked. You could attack the other person's deck, you could attack their discard pile, you could attack their mechs out on the table. It was a little bit more focused. It had the battle tech story behind it, which is something I love. I love the BattleTech universe a lot. So for me, this was my personal favorite game of 1996. So those are my top 10. What are your favorite games from 1996? Let me know in the comments. Let me know which of these games. Vasel, you're crazy for putting that on your list. Anyway, I'll see you next time for more 40 years of great gaming. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.